I wanted to narrate to you a very profound story of Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, rahimahullah. As we know, Imam Ahmad is one of the great scholars of fiqh. He was amongst the four madahibs. He's Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, rahimahullah. And it's narrated when Imam Ahmad was passing away. When he was passing away, his son Abdullah was with him. And I want you to actually put yourself in this situation. I want you to, because every one of us are actually going to go through this similar situation. We're all going to face death. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ ثُمَّ إِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and every soul shall taste death, and you will be returned back to Allah. So every one of us will die one day. So listen to the story how Imam Ahmad was passing away. So Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, he was passing away. He started going through this Sikarat al-Maut. Now what Sikarat al-Maut is the pains and agonies of death. And that stage of death, that is when the soul is about to leave the body. So the soul is about to preparing itself to go to the hereafter. And a person becomes conscious and then becomes unconscious. Then becomes conscious and unconscious. So the person is not aware of what's going on. Because he starts to sweat, he's starting to get tired, he's starting to become dazed. He doesn't know what's going on. And his soul is starting to leave his body. So Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, he started going through this stage. And when he went in the state of unconsciousness, he started saying, La ba'at, la ba'at, la ba'at, not yet, not yet, not yet. So his son Abdullah, he became very worried. He was very worried at this stage. I mean, because if you're thinking about it at this time, at this crucial moment when you're about to meet Allah Azza wa Jal, the angel of death is about to take your soul out of your body. He's saying, not yet. I mean, if you were in that situation, you saw your father, you saw your family member, someone who's beloved to you, and he's saying not yet at the time of death, what would start going through your mind? You probably think, this person doesn't want to die yet, so he's telling the angel of death, not yet. So Abdullah, he started to become worried. And when Imam Ahmad, he came out of consciousness, he became conscious again, he asked, oh my father, you were saying not yet. What was going on? What's wrong? He said, oh my son, Shaitan came to me and he was biting his fingers. He was saying, oh Ahmad, you've slipped out of my hands. Oh Ahmad, you've slipped out of my hands. Oh Ahmad, you've slipped out of my hands. And I was saying, not yet, not yet, not yet. This is the state of the believer. This is the state of the believer, how he fights against Shaitan. It's a war against Shaitan until the last moment. If we were in that situation, we probably would have said, oh yeah, I beat you, I beat you. I'm successful, I beat you. But look at Imam Ahmad. He did not let Shaitan try to deceive him. He did not let Shaitan try to trick him. He did not put his arms down. He did not put his weapons down. And he was fighting against Shaitan until that very last moment, saying, not yet. I'm not going to be defeated by you, Shaitan. I'm not going to be tricked by you, Shaitan. Dear brothers and sisters, we have to reflect upon this. That if Shaitan, he is locked up right now. And think about it, when Ramadan ends, if Shaitan is just giving 10% of his effort, and he's trying to lead us astray, he's saying, do this, do that, look at this, look at that, look at that, steal this, and he's giving 10% of our effort, what happens at the time of death, dear brothers and sisters? What's going to happen to us at the time of death if Shaitan puts all his effort, 100% effort to mislead us? What will we do at that moment? How are we going to fight Shaitan? How are we going to fight Shaitan in that moment? And this is enough to instill fear in our heart, dear brothers and sisters. And think about death frequently. That's why our Prophet ﷺ says, أَكْثُرُ ذِكْرَ حَارِمِ اللَّذَّاتِ. They frequently, they remember the destroyer of all pleasures. When we think about the destroyer of all pleasures, that is death. Because whether you're in your graduation ceremony, or you're in your wedding night, or your birthday, what is going to put an end to all that pleasure that you're having? What is going to put an end to all that fun that you're having and enjoying? Death. Once death comes to us, and that is the reality, dear brothers and sisters. Every one of us will face death one day, and then we will return back to Allah. And Allah will ask us, what did we do with our life? How did we spend our life? Did we, spend it in the obedience of Allah? But today, unfortunately, we think we have other plans in our mind. Sometimes we think like death is something for like old people. People who have died, people who are about to die, who are sick in the hospital, or old people. That's what we usually think. We usually think to ourselves in the back of our mind. We don't say it, but we think in the back of our mind, I'm young right now. Let me enjoy myself. Let me have fun right now. I'm still young. I can have fun. When I become older, then I will go to the masjid. I'll start fasting. I'll make tawbah to Allah. I'll make hajj. And I will say La ilaha illallah right before my deathbed, and I will guarantee Jannah. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us in the Quran, وَيَمْكُرُونَ وَيَمْكُرُ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. They are planning and Allah is planning. And Allah is the best of planners. When we make this intention, dear brothers and sisters, that I will become religious when I get older, that I will stick to the commandments of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ when I become older. Let me enjoy myself now. We have already made that intention in ourselves, that I'm going to be disobedient to Allah. And I'm going to try to go over this rule. Allah is telling us, pray to me 5 times a day, 365 days a year, fast in the month of Ramadan, do Hajj. And then I'm going around this rule and I'm trying to outsmart Allah and saying, no Allah, I'm going to outsmart you, I'm going to plan against you, I'm going to become religious when I become older. But Allah is telling us, وَيَمْكُرُونَ وَيَمْكُرُ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. Allah is they are planning and Allah is planning. And Allah is the best of planners. So we have to keep that in the back of our mind every single second. Because if we go in the graveyard, death doesn't distinguish between what profession you are or how old you are. If you go in the graveyard, you'll see people who are little kids, infants, a couple minutes old, they died. Teenagers who died in their teenage years, high school kids, college kids, people who are older. You know, we see all kinds of ages. So death doesn't, doesn't look at those who are ready to leave or not. It just comes all of a sudden. And that's why our Prophet ﷺ emphasized in the hadith, أَكْثُرُ ذِكْرَ هَذِهِ الْمَزَّاتِ. Do not, frequently remember the destroyer of all pleasures. And that is death. Death is the destroyer of all pleasures. But, Al-Qurtubi, rahimahullah, he mentions in the stories about people who are dying. They were telling the people, this person to say La ilaha illallah. So they were urging him, say La ilaha illallah, say La ilaha illallah. And this person, he was saying, pour me a glass of wine, pour me a glass of alcohol. This was his last words, because his heart was attached to this dunya, and his heart was attached to doing the sin. So he wasn't able, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not give him the tawfiq to say La ilaha illallah. It was narrated that the person was always in business and accounting, and counting money. And they told him, say La ilaha illallah, say La ilaha illallah. And he started counting 4, 5, 6, 7. That was his last moments. Because his heart was attached to the money. Sometimes we think we're going to say La ilaha illallah before we die. But it just comes all of a sudden. Because at that time of death, Sakarat al-Maut, what's going to happen is your logic, your brain will be cut off at that time. And whatever's in your heart will come out. So if your heart was attached to the money, attached to the alcohol, attached to business, to this world, that's what will come out in the end. That's what will come out at the end. Because the Prophet ﷺ says that whatever the last words are, your last moments of your life is how you're going to be resurrected on the Day of Judgment. So the people who say, Labbaik Allahumma Labbaik, the people who are in Hajj, they will raise up on the Day of Judgment saying, Oh Allah, I am here, oh Allah, I am here, because they died in Hajj. And those people who said La ilaha illallah, they will raise up and say La ilaha illallah. Think about it, what is our situation going to be? And that's how we have to prepare for it. I'll leave you with 2 points that we can take home and how we can test ourselves. Whenever something bad happens to you, whenever something unexpected happens to you, for example, you're driving in a car, someone about to hit you, what is the reaction that comes out of your mouth? What is that comes out of your mouth? What do we say, a curse word, the S word or the F word? Or do we say, Subhanallah, La ilaha illallah? What is it that comes out of our mouth? Because at the time of death, you will not be prepared and you will not be ready for death. It will just come all of a sudden. And whatever's in the heart will come out. So that's one way of testing yourselves. And the other way of testing yourself is that Sakarat al-Maut is similar to death. It's similar to death. It's similar to sleep. Death is similar to sleep. And what it is that when a person is sleeping, he goes through that stage before he goes into a deep sleep. He starts to get drowsy and then he goes into sleep. It's similar to death. And what happens is that if a person, how you can test yourself is when you wake up in the morning, what is the first thing that comes up in your mind? When you're falling asleep, what's the thing that falls on your mind? Is it the dunya, or is it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I have to wake up for my Fajr Salah? Is that the main thing when you wake up in the morning? Or is it my business, my money, my bank account? Because that's what's going to happen at the time of death. When you're going in that drowsy state of death, Sakarat al-Maut, that's what's going to happen. A person will start becoming drowsy and he will not know how to deal with that situation. He will start thinking about things, whatever was in his heart. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us live a life of La ilaha illallah and make our last words be La ilaha illallah. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر لكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم.